What's going on, guys? This is Crozen and welcome to the Bows Only Archer build for Dark Souls 3. So one of you recommended this in one of my previous videos and I thought I would go ahead and make it since it was a very cool build. It's really unorthodox, but we are only going to be using bows with this build, and also we're going to be using one pyro spell, and we're going to be using the Grass Crest Shield in order to regenerate our stamina a little quicker while we are shooting off our arrows. So it's a lot of fun to use, and in fact this game has really enhanced bows altogether. There's all different kinds of movesets with different bows, and it just makes for a very fun playthrough if you are planning on playing through bows for the entirety of the game. So if any of you are looking for like a different aspect of Dark Souls 3, then by all means a bows only build can be a lot of fun, and it can give you a whole different feel to this game. So you can use this in PvE but also in PvP as well. Now I'm not going to say that it is completely viable in PvP because obviously you can't just stand around and take hits for days, but you can do a lot of fun cool things. So say if this enemy was on a bridge or on a cliff, you can use the Onislayer Greatbow and knock him off the cliff and have a lot of different fun times using this build for PvP. You can also use other kind of builds as well, or you can kind of kite them around and let enemies help you out in a lot of different scenarios, as you see here, where this guy eventually falls to his dying death. But it is a lot of fun to use in PvP, but it's not completely viable. So say if you were actually using this as a serious build, then I would never recommend it if you were using it for that kind of purpose. But regardless, it is a lot of fun to use, and it gives you a whole different aspect of this game. So for this build in particular, you're going to want to start out with the Knight class. Once again, I kind of keep picking the Knight class, but it really is one of the best classes for a lot of different builds. So why I'm picking the Knight is because we're not going to be using luck, we're not going to be using intelligence and faith, and the Knight class starts out with the lowest in those three categories, and it just makes for the best class for this build. And you could go with the life ring as your burial gift, and then from there we are ready to start off with this bow only class. So I will be right back, guys, and I will show you how this build looks like in game, all the bows that we are going to be using, all our rings and our equipment, and all of our stats. So I will be right back. Alright, so here we are in the stat menu, and these are my attributes at soul level 100. I have 37 vigor, 14 attunement, 35 endurance, 15 vitality, 18 strength, so we can use the Onislayer Greatbow, 50 dexterity, which I actually leveled this up to 45, and the ring is giving me +5, and then the last three are just at the Knight base. And for the weapons, we are going to be using 3 bows, which is the Composite Bow, the Bow of Pharis, and the Onislayer Greatbow. Each of them have their own separate uses, which I will kind of show you in detail in a second here. And as far as our left-hand weapons, we're going to be using the Grass Crest Shield. This will allow you to have a greater stamina recovery speed. Now we're only going to put this on our back, and since we're only using bows only, that's how we use this Grass Crest Shield. And for the second left-hand weapon, we're going to be using the Pyro Flame. This will allow us to cast the Great Chaos Fire Orb, which leaves behind a little bit of a AoE that we can have. Especially, it's very important that we use that, especially if you have enemies running after you, especially in PvP, since it does kind of leave them with a little bit of a damage over time. So you definitely want to use that, and it only required me to level up attunement by 4. And not only that, but even if we don't use the fire orb, this is going to be essential because we're going to have a little bit more focus power so that we can use our weapon specials for our bows. And for the gear, I went with the Shadow Mask, Brass Armor, Northern Gloves, and the Shadow Leggings. I mainly just went with anything that'll get me below the 70% weight ratio, and this armor in particular kind of looked pretty neat, so that worked out. And for the rings, I went with the Chloranthy Ring, the Hunter's Ring, which gives me +5 to Dex. I went with the Hawk Ring, which will give us a little bit more range on our bows, and what that will allow us to do is we won't suffer from damage from being too far away from our enemies. So the Hawk Ring is definitely essential for a bowman build. And lastly, the Obscuring Ring, which is mainly like your Sniper's Ring. This will allow you to be really far away and not get noticed by enemies, so you can basically just get off a lot of different sniping shots. And for our 3 bows, I wanted to kind of show you how these bows look like in action. So the first bow being the Composite Bow. This is like your close combat short range bow, and this bow is going to be used when you have enemies chasing after you. So as you see here, this guy's chasing after me. I can kind of dodge backwards and get off shots while I am dodging, which you can only get this with the Composite Bow and the short bow. So this is one of those unique bows, and it's definitely useful to have, and it's going to be your close combat bow, and you're going to be using this a lot, especially if you find a lot of different enemies running after you. And secondly is the Black Bow of Pharis. The Black Bow of Pharis has a cool unique weapon art which will allow you to get off 3 shots in one string. So as you see here, if I go back and I shoot this, I have 3 different shots going after this enemy, and this is mainly going to be probably the bow that you're going to use the most. But again, if you can't get all your shots off, or if you can't kill the enemy before he's running after you, then I would definitely recommend that you go back to the Composite Bow and finish off an enemy just like that. And then lastly will be the Onislayer Greatbow. But first, forgot to mention the kind of arrows I am using. So for the Composite Bow and the Black Bow of Pharis, you want to use the dark arrows. Now the dark arrows will provide the most damage, and also for the Black Bow of Pharis in particular, when you use this weapon art as I showed you guys here, let me get the Black Bow real quick. Now this weapon art here, when you shoot 3 different arrows at one time, what it will do is, if when you're using dark arrows, it will kind of track enemies, so it will give you a little bit better chance of hitting them, so you kind of get increased accuracy. So you definitely want to use the dark arrows at all times for these 2 bows. And lastly, as you see here, I have the Onislayer Great Arrows equipped, but you do not want to use the Onislayer Great Arrows for the Onislayer Greatbow. You want to use the Dragon Slayer Great Arrows, because the Dragon Slayer Great Arrows will knock enemies backwards and will send them flying basically. So if you have enemies that are on a cliff or on a bridge and you want to knock them off the cliff, then you must use the Dragon Slayer Great Arrows, because the Onislayer Great Arrows, they're a little smaller and they won't provide that same effect. But unfortunately, I do not have those arrows, since I kind of messed up the quest line with the NPC. So you can only get those from the NPC. I think his name starts with a G or something, but I kind of messed up that quest line, so that's why I don't have them. But definitely get the Dragon Slayer Great Arrows. And for the Onislayer Greatbow, this is mainly going to be your sniper bow. So when you are really far back, this is the bow that you want to use. So as you see here, you always want to go into this little zoom mode for this one. Be as far back as you can and basically get off as many shots as you can while you are further away. And that is how you want to use all 3 of these bows, guys. So I hope that helped you out, and I hope this gives you a better understanding of how to use a pure bow only build in general. And if you have any questions about this build, anything about the bows or anything else, let me know in the comments. And if you have any kind of builds that you want to see in the future, let me know as well, and I will see you guys in the next video.